In August of 2011, I was tasked with piloting a ship into outer space for freight work by the Hokate Company. This job seemed straightforward at first, but little did I know that it would change my life forever. My ship was intercepted by a meteor mid-flight, and I was forced to crash land onto a nearby planet. This crash caused pieces of my ship to be scattered across the land, making the prospect of repairs bleak at best. On top of this, the poisonous atmosphere of this planet gave me a small window of 30 days to do so before I were to expire. But then, as if by some divine intervention, I met them. These sentient plant-like creatures which followed my every command and looked to me as though I were their god for giving them life. These creatures, which I named Pikmin, were my ticket off the planet. They were much stronger than I, and in their sheer numbers they could help me locate and carry parts of my ship back to me for repairs. But it wasn't easy. It never is. There was many a time in which I lost a great amount of these Pikmin due to drowning, environmental hazards, being left out in the dark due to the nocturnal predators, or just losing them in battle. I can still hear the screams of the innocent creatures at night. These creatures that knew no better than to follow my every command. My commands, which lost them their freedom and their lives. I was eventually able to gather all of the parts to my ship before my life support system gave out. Barely. And took off. My thoughts often wandered, wondering what would become of the Pikmin I left behind. Would they use their newfound strength to take over the planet? Or would they fall to the hostile predators? I thought I would never have a chance to find out. I thought wrong. And this is where the game that I'll be looking at in this review begins. As I'm sure you've figured out, this game is Pikmin 2. Initially released in 2004 for the GameCube, it was greeted by gamers and critics alike with open arms and vastly favorable opinions. It even managed a re-release on the Wii in 2009 for Japan, Europe, and Australia, and a 2012 release for the States. But of course, as I'm sure you're all aware, this title will be getting a sequel very soon for the Wii U in the coming months. So, as I look back upon my second journey into this strange world of Pikmin, what are my thoughts on this bizarre yet grand adventure? Well, let's move forward and find out, shall we? This game begins after Captain Olimar had escaped from the planet in the first title. As he returns to the Hokate Freight Company, he discovers that due to the incompetence of one of his co-workers, the company has spiraled into debt and is now liquidating its assets in order to stay above water. And yes, assets do include your ship. Well, this sure is a bleak way to start off the game, but just as everything seems lost, you discover that random scraps of junk that you found on the planet are actually quite valuable. With this newfound knowledge, you take yourself and your bumbling constituent Louie and head back to the planet in order to find said treasure in the hopes that you can gather enough to get your company out of debt. But of course, this being a Pikmin game and all, you will of course once again be relying on Pikmin to help you in your quest. Like last time, there will be the standard red, yellow, and blue variety. And in case you haven't played the first game, here's the rundown on these fine perennials. The red Pikmin are your standard workforce and are fireproof. The yellow Pikmin are lighter, making them able to be thrown to high areas, along with being electric resistant, and the blue Pikmin can breathe in water. These Pikmin will of course be able to dispatch of enemies that bar your path, along with gathering any treasures that you may stumble across. These treasures range from standard junk such as bottle caps and seashells, all the way up to more valuable items such as jewelry, batteries, and even some classic Nintendo handhelds. Product placement? Never heard of it. As you adventure through various areas, you will come across caverns. These caverns will have you traversing through multiple levels, filled with more treasure, and of course, enemies. But there is also a special treat for those who dare to traverse these treacherous catacombs. You will stumble upon flowers, both purple and white. If you throw a Pikmin into these flowers, then they will sprout into either a purple or white Pikmin. Purple Pikmin move much more slowly than normal Pikmin, however, they can lift 10 times the weight of a normal Pikmin and also do a massive amount of damage to enemies. White Pikmin, on the other hand, are the fastest of the species. Along with their swiftness, they are also immune to poison and can poison enemies if ingested. But probably the most useful aspect of these little buggers is their ability to locate treasure that is buried underground. But these aren't the only allies you'll come across in these caverns. At some point, you'll stumble across these creatures known as Bulbmin. These odd mutations of Bulbaxes, a standard enemy in the game, have leaves sprouting on top of them. Once you slaughter their matriarch, her offspring will blindly follow you around and fight for you as normal Pikmin would. Once you manage to fight your way to the bottom level of these caverns, you will then fight a boss. And I hope for your sake you didn't lose too many soldiers on the way down. These bosses can prove to be quite a challenge, as they should considering they are in fact bosses. Once you defeat these monstrosities, you will then obtain a special item which will aid you in finding more treasure or help you in combat. Now, considering this game has two captains, this makes the gameplay move much more smoothly. At any time, you can switch between using Olimar and Louie, and you can assign Pikmin to either party. This allows you to split up the workloads and, quite literally, be in two places at once. Now, this game is structured like the first title, with each venture being split up into days which take 15 minutes each. However, unlike last time, you are not limited to 30 days to achieve your goal. So you can very easily take your time in scouting out these treasures and build up an army. This game has 4 different areas, and between these areas there are 14 different caverns to explore, giving you a total of 201 treasures to obtain. Now, you will only need about half of these treasures to fully repay the company's debt, but if you wish to fully complete the game, this could keep you occupied for quite a while. And now for the reviewing. Graphically speaking, this game is astounding for its time. The amount of detail put into the strange creatures that inhabit the planet is quite impressive, and even the lush environments show a beautiful variety in the water, vegetation, and everything in between. As for the gameplay, the use of 2 captains this time around makes for not only a more productive experience, but also takes away some of the difficulty in having to take down enemies and grab treasure at the same time. Speaking of difficulty, let's talk about that. Now, due to the large amount of new enemies and bosses in this game, you will need to work out some strategies in order to come out of these battles on top, not to mention the matter of losing large amounts of Pikmin to these monsters. This usually isn't too hard if you scope out an area ahead of your Pikmin or are just very observant. However, there are times when your followers will decide to put themselves in harm's way against your orders. This doesn't happen too often, but just keep in mind that they may automatically attempt to pick up a treasure or attack an enemy. On the other hand, the difficulty of this game is largely tuned down due to the lack of a time limit. Now, I know that limiting a player in such a manner can make for repeated playthroughs of a game, and in the worst way possible. But after playing the first game and knowing that I had no time limit, I still felt that I should be moving as fast as I can out of force of habit. So, can I recommend this second look into the world of sentient flora? Well, absolutely. If you enjoyed the first game, I honestly can't see any reason not to play this one. Well, maybe one reason. If you plan on getting this game on the Wii, you should have little to no trouble, as it's a fairly common title. However, if you decide to obtain this title on the GameCube as I did, it is a bit difficult to find a copy. And if you decide to order one online, they tend to be a bit pricey. But regardless of how you come across this game, this is one adventure you won't regret. So, as I once again leave this planet and say goodbye to my Pikmin brethren, I remember their faces and the constant reverence and awe they showed for myself and Louie. I often wonder if they would remember us, because I know that no matter how hard I try, I will never forget them and the sacrifices they made for my life. Till next time.